This is patience. He called on his Lord, and his Lord answered him. He said, "O Allah, if you do not stop their evil inclinations against me, I may be forced to submit to what they are asking me to do." And what did Allah do? He removed it and He protected it. This is patience in the face of temptation for something that men like. Men love women. It's a fact. There are many brothers, if, may Allah forbid, you get caught in such a situation, the shirt might be torn from the front. You with me? You won't running. May Allah save us from that. Because that is a test. And the only ones who can pass such a test is the pure of heart, or the ones who believe in Allah and the last day. I already mentioned patience in fulfilling the commands of Allah. The one story here that I'll mention is the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Patience in fulfilling the commands of Allah. Imagine your son and you're like, you need to cut his neck. Okay, Allah, that's what you want me to do? That's what I'm going to do? But the thing is, the only person who showed patience in that scenario wasn't Ibrahim. Then Ismail showed patience as well, yes. Because in the Qur'an we have the narration that when the Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ was standing there looking at him, sorrow overcame him to the point that he may have turned away, and his son said, "If this is what your Lord has commanded you to do, then we are servants of your Lord." So Ibrahim ﷺ wasn't the only one who showed patience. Ismail also showed patience in that. So Ibrahim was willing to do it, and Ismail said, "Hey, if this is what you were commanded to do, why are you sweating it? Do it." This is patience in fulfilling the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what it looks like, even though it may be a test for us. So why is sabr important? So all of these, what it looks like. Why is it important? Alright, so I can spend all day speaking about what it looks like and all of the different messengers and the different people who showed it, but why is it important? Wallahu yuhibbu sabirin. This is why it's important. Why? Because Allah loves the patient one. That should be sufficient for us. Why is patience important? Important because Allah says clearly that He loves those who are patient. So let's give us some context for when Allah said that. In this particular verse in Surah Ali Imran, Allah here was speaking about the messengers who fought in His way, and He said, and He was speaking about how many prophets that came before the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fought in His way, and how many men fought with them. And even though a calamity befell them, or even though they were tested, they never wavered in their faith in Allah. They stood strong. They said, "This is what we are doing, this is who we are with, this is what we are committed to, we are standing firm." And then what does Allah say? He loves those who are patient. Why? They were faced with calamity, they stood strong. They were faced with trials, they stood strong. They never gave up, they never wavered. These are the patient ones. These are the patient ones that Allah loves. These are the patient ones that Allah loves. Another reason why sabr is important. Paradise is a reward. Paradise is a reward for sabr. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse 111, chapter 23, verse 111, it is said, "But behold, today I have rewarded them for their patience in adversity. Verily it is they who have attained a triumph." So the reward for them being patient in adversity was what? Jannah. And how does Allah describe that? As a triumph. This is their success. Because they were patient in adversity. So again, I'm answering the question, why is patience important? Allah loves it, and our reward is Jannah. This is a promise from Allah. Patience has the third reason, patience has a major impact on faith. In various narrations, you hear that it's faith or it is half of faith. In a narration, the Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is faith? He replied, it is patience. In another narration, he reported to have said that patience is half of faith. So, sabr nisfu iman. Patience is half of faith. So, whether it's faith or half of faith, a lot of these things are allegorical or analogies to show that it's important for our faith to be sustained. It is reported that Ali ibn Abi Talib said, patience is to faith as the head is to the body. Patience is to faith as the head is to the body. Whoever does not have a head does not have a body. And whoever does not have patience does not have faith. Whoever does not have patience does not have. Tell me anything in our faith that does not require patience based on what the Prophet ﷺ has said. Thank you very much, Quaiser. Quaiser said nothing. The other one says it must be something. Alright. Okay, so it is reported in Bukhari and Muslim that the Prophet ﷺ said, no one has ever been given anything better than patience. So one of the best rewards that we can get is patience. Because again, why? Allah loves it, and the reward for it is Jannah. Fits very clearly with what the Prophet is saying, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, that no one has ever been given a better gift than patience. So what happens when sabr is missing? One of the first things that happens is we develop ingratitude. One of the first things that happen is that we develop ingratitude. And we have to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates the kanoo. He hates the one who is ungrateful for what He has given him. And this ingratitude appears in many, many, many forms. It is one of those things that happens more often than we think. And how do we know that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says very clearly in the Quran, very few among His servants are truly grateful. Very few among His servants are truly grateful. So this thing of ingratitude happens to many of us daily. Daily. I use simple examples. You're walking, someone asks you for something, can you come meet me at the masjid on Saturday morning to help me do X, Y, and Z? And you're like, I don't have time to do that. Saturday morning comes, you're sitting down in front of the TV watching television. What does ingratitude look like? Part of it is covering up the bounty that Allah has given you. So you've been given this blessing of time, and you're telling the person, you've been given this blessing of time, and you're telling the person that you don't have the time. But you've been given it. But you're saying, no, I don't have that. So you're covering up a blessing that Allah has given you. Someone looking tattered and torn, they say, can you give me $1 to buy some food? You have it in your pocket? Sorry, I don't have $1 right now. We say it. We definitely say it. You know what? No, I don't have it. And then you walk a couple blocks down and you whip out a couple dollars outside of Ramadan and you buy a water ice for yourself. Right? So these are things that we do. We cover up the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Problematic. And I mentioned already, when we lose a loved one, sometimes we focus on death to the point that anytime death is mentioned, we are scared. We don't even want to talk about death after that. It's a traumatic thing, but we don't even want to talk about death after that. And anytime death is mentioned, we run from this discussion of death because it's hurting us. And that's understandable. But the Prophet ﷺ told us to remember death often. Why? perchance we live differently in this life. So what are some things that happen when sabr is missing or when patience is missing? What are some things that happen when patience is missing? Pride. Pride is allowed to grow when patience is missing. It grows and it grows and it grows and then it blossoms, but the fruit from pride isn't good fruit at all. But it grows when patience isn't there. How do we know that? Someone says something to you and you say it back to them. Immediately. You are this, or I'm a this, then you are a that. You're not going to diss me. I can diss you better than you can diss me. So we go pound for pound all the way down. We go and we go and we go. Patience is not that. We don't hold our tongues when we should. So when we don't have patience and someone says something that we feel insults our character, and we feel the need to defend we feel the need to defend ourselves against what we perceive as something against us, and many times we do it in a way that doesn't really bring closure or bring peace to the situation. It just exacerbates it. One good example of how we need to hold our tongue and how we need to fight against this emergence of pride is in this month especially. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, on the day of the fast, one should not utter obscenities nor be loud and quarrelsome. One should not utter obscenities nor be loud and quarrelsome. And if someone speaks abuses at you or at him and tries to fight with him, what should he say? In this way, I am a person who is fasting. Patience. Here the Prophet is telling us how to show patience in this month. Someone says something to you, I am fasting. Many of us have mastered this, or we are getting better at it. But because many of us are on Facebook, it's for some reason it doesn't extend into that realm. So I won't quarrel with you to your face, but I will quarrel with your face, and you write a paragraph, laying them out on Facebook, but oh yeah, I'm fasting. If somebody says something to your face, but because it's in this internet, suddenly it becomes okay. The same hadith applies. If somebody is quarrelsome, you avoid it, especially in this month. And that is a sign of patience. Lack of moderation, so with the absence of sabr, you have a lack of moderation in the desires and you nurture your negative desires. For example, cursing, pornography, these things. So these things are all diseases, and anyone who thinks that cursing is not a disease, we need to check ourselves again. This is a disease. If you find that you cannot get through a conversation without using obscene language, then we need to check again as to what are we bringing to the table. What are we bringing to the table? Envy. We are not happy that someone else has something that we do not have or we have lost. When sabr is missing, envy emerges. So, you have lost something, someone else has it, you hate them for having that thing. Whether it's something tangible or intangible. They have a good marriage, because your marriage fell apart, you suddenly hate them. You have no idea why you hate them. 2 days ago, you were giving them salam and hugging them, no idea why. Envy. Or you want something and you don't have it. You start hating on them for no reason. For no reason whatsoever. And this brings to mind an article that I read this morning about Tabitha Smiley and Barack Obama. And that's a topic for this discussion. You hate for no reason. Pure envy. So when sabr isn't there, when we are not content, or when we are not satisfied with the qadr of Allah, and we don't have patience in this qadr, pride, envy, and the inability to stay away from the things that are detrimental to our soul, these things emerge and they rise up. And then what happens is, we start preferring the impermissible. So we start preferring the things that are really bad for us when the sabr is missing. So how do we develop sabr? So this is a wrap up here. I should wrap this up in 10 minutes tops. How do we develop sabr? The first thing I want to say, if you walk away with nothing else today, is this. Sabr or patience is a matter of attitude. It is an attitude. You know, you hear the statement of you need to have an attitude of gratitude. Let's put you need to have an attitude of patience. Sabr is an attitude. It's manifested in certain actions, but it's a way of thinking and a way of processing things and a way of dealing with things. So more than anything else, it's an attitude we have to life. So we can't look at sabr as this thing, or patience as this thing that is out there, that is this tangible thing. It's an attitude that we need to have about things. So how can we develop this attitude? 3 things, and then I'll make 4 points, and then we'll stop. Spend more time being grateful, exercise restraint when faced with a test or loss, and stop making excuses for yourself. Those 3 simple things. Show more gratitude, exercise restraint when you're faced with a loss or test, and stop making excuses for why you are how you are. Something happens, you speak harshly, somebody brings that to your attention, that's just how I am. No, that's how you want to be. That's how you've chosen to be. And you're choosing not to be different. It is a choice. No one can say that they are just simply rude and they were born rude and they will forever be rude, unless that is what you have chosen. You can choose to be different. So this thing of sabr is a choice. So stop making excuses for ourselves. Practice choosing. So when we say exercise restraint when faced with a loss or a test, practice choosing the better thing or higher ground more often. Think of running, think of exercising to be an athlete. You don't run once around St. Joe's track and suddenly you're the best sprinter. That don't happen. Alright? You don't play tennis once and now suddenly you want to go up against the best tennis players in the world. Like you hit the ball and you're like, whoa, I'm good. And then you want to go play in Wimbledon. It doesn't happen like that. If you want to develop the skill, what do you have to do? Anyone, if you want to develop the skill, what do you have to do? Practice. Never mind, okay. Practice. You want to develop patience? You have to practice it. Someone comes to you and they say something to you, and you usually will respond with your sarcastic retort. And you know lawyers do that a lot, right? You would usually respond with your sarcastic retort. Do you have any lawyers in the room? You hold your tongue. And you're like, ah, you know what? I'm not going to do this today. That is a challenge for me. It is a challenge for me. There are some people in this room who were with me at a meeting earlier on today. And the meeting was going on. The meeting was going on. It was just going on. And at a certain point, I realized I had hit my limit. And something happened, and as I was about to say something, I was like, no, that is you starting to lose your patience, right? No, that is you showing that you have lost your patience. Not starting to lose it, that is you about to show that you have lost your patience. Because the next thing that was about to come out of my mouth was just going to be sarcastic. And everything after that was going to be in that vein. Learning to hold your tongue. And I'm not saying, I am only showing that example because it's something that I know I personally struggle with every single day. Holding your tongue. holding your tongue and not showing or not demonstrating impatience. So, how do we develop it? My last 4 points. Protection. It is very natural for us to protect ourselves. Very, very natural for us to protect ourselves. Someone says something to you or someone does something to you, you perceive it to be an injustice. The first thing you want to do is to defend yourself. Defend your honor, save face, whatever it is. So this is a natural inclination that we have. How do we defend it? Many times we use tools such as anger, irritation, blaming and shaming as some of the things we employ to defend ourselves. So something happens, we blame you. I blame you. Why? Because now I can defend myself by blaming you. Something happens, I show my irritation. Why? Because by me showing my irritation, I'm showing that there's something wrong with you, that you're irritating me. I'm protecting myself. I shame you. You say something, you do something I don't like, I put you on blast. Why? Because by putting you on blast, I don't have to deal with me. I am protected. If the focus is on you and what you did wrong, I am now protected. So protection is a normal human thing. But how do we protect ourselves? And when we use these particular things I just mentioned, or even show anger, like you start shouting at someone, you start belittling them, that's another form of us trying to protect ourselves. But using these tools, more or less show a lack of impatience. And you'll find that if we showed patience and still try to protect ourselves, we won't use these particular tools or these destructive tools. I don't want to just use them as neutral tools, these destructive tools. If we showed patience while still trying to protect ourselves. And we say it all the time in things that we say. I have never seen such incompetence in my life. How could they? Didn't they realize this? They did it just on purpose, or they are just ignorant, that's why. We say these things all the time. And in many cases, these are items of blaming, shaming, whatever have you, because we feel protected by it. Patience dictates that we don't do that. How do we know this? The Prophet ﷺ advises against getting angry, against speaking ill of others, against all of these things that take away the character of someone else. Because we know that things that are sacred from one Muslim to another, his character is one of the things that's sacred. His character is one of the things that's sacred from one Muslim to another. So although we need to protect, we need to find a way to protect without harming the other person. Because if we've done that, we've gone beyond the scope of what we are allowed to do within Islam. The second thing, changing our attitudes towards something unfamiliar. In most cases, we see some things as unbearable, and then we term them as intolerable. Like something is happening and it's causing us pain and discomfort. We say, you know what, there's no way I can tolerate this. And all that it requires is an adjustment of attitude. Give you an example. Someone walks into the masjid in Ramadan, our holy month, we love to get holy in Ramadan, right? Someone walks into the masjid, everyone has on a nice coat, a brother walks into the masjid in a white beater, sleeveless. I hate that term, but once I say that, one knows, a sleeveless thing, right? One of those sleeveless. This is right, that's right, just call it a white beater, that's what it is. Alright, so, our brother walks in, thank you very much. A brother walks into the masjid in his white beater. You are up here, or sitting wherever you are, in a nice stove, and you're like, we can have a brother walking into the masjid, is that? Let's go get him out of the masjid. So you run up, and you go and you more or less push him out of the masjid. You cannot come in here like that. Suddenly you cannot tolerate something that really has no impact on you. What is that really doing to you? Is there a way to advise the brother to dress differently when coming into the masjid without making him run out of the masjid? Of course there is. And if you don't have anything to give him to put on, and he doesn't have anything with him to put on, and he's entered the masjid, why are you telling him anything now? Why? You don't have anything to help him out. He has nothing to change his condition. So you telling him something now is going to do what? Now he feels self-conscious. Now he may have really come to worship Allah, but while he's trying to worship Allah, all he's thinking about is you, looking at him being half of a Muslim. You haven't given him anything to better his condition, but you want to correct him. This is what we do. The problem is not with him, the problem is with us. So next time that happens, run the family dollar and buy him a shirt. So we often focus on things, we often focus on other people when we're in a difficulty or when we're in a situation of a difficulty. Yes, the person may be a really good person, or they may be the person in the wrong, but they are still outside of us. They are still outside of us. So regardless of, they are still outside of us. And a big part of how we deal with that is how we perceive them and how we perceive their actions. It is our mind that perceives the aversion or the attraction. So if we are pushed away, it's our mind that's perceiving it. If we are drawn to it, it's still our mind that's perceiving it. So part of the thing we have to do is adjust how we think about things. And if we think that this is not important, we have to remember that in some cases the pain that we're experiencing is really because of how we choose to look at that thing that's going on. So I'm experiencing a certain pain, and it could really be because of how I'm choosing to look at it. I'll give you an example. You're functioning in a community and a brother says something to you. And he says it in a way that it hurts you. And you're like, why is he talking to me like that? He can't talk to me like that. Doesn't he know who I am? I've been in this community for 20 years. He's only been here for 5 years. How can he talk to me like that? And he knows he plays it, and we go into this long thing. So now we start disliking that person. Whereas we could reframe that and say it differently. You know what? This brother is new to the community. He's new to Islam, seeing all of these changes, that could be having a serious impact on him. What he said here really isn't about me. It has nothing to do with me. And this, if it's something he said about you, then that's a different thing. But if he just spoke to you in a certain way, it may not even be about you. He could be going through his own trials. This could be his first Ramadan, and the fast is really stressful on him. Reframing how we look at it can change how we interact with him. What is the proof of this? What is the proof that if we change how we look at things, it can change us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, He will not do what? He will not change our condition until we change what is within ourselves. So if we are experiencing pain and we do not try to change how we are looking at what that test is, it may not change for us. Last two things, but these two things are very short. We need to be aware of our own changes. Many times when we are getting angry or upset, or when we feel bothered by something, there are changes that we feel. Brother Sharif, can I use that as an example? And I only use it because you're sitting there and you're like a stalwart, so I'm going to use it as an example. When you, and I'm not saying that you feel angry many times, but sometimes if you feel angry, do you feel changes happening inside of you? Yeah, you feel it, right? Sometimes you feel your eyebrows going in. You feel your jaw clenching. You may even feel your fist tightening. So we are not paying attention to these changes that happen inside of us. And when we are not paying attention to these changes, we do not articulate them properly. So one of the things to develop patience is to start paying attention to changes that are happening with us. Last night, we were giving, around midnight, we were trying to give my daughter some medicine. And this child was screaming. She was screaming. She was kicking, fussing, she was screaming. And there was something she said, so like, we are there trying to calm her down, relax, stop fighting. So you move between these states of frustration, calm, compassion, frustration. Like, just take it. Once you take it, you'll be fine. And then she said something that made me think of the thing on a whole different level. She said, I do not know how to be calm. She's 6 years old. We are telling her to calm down. And she's crying, she's fussing, there are tears, eyes are swollen. And what she says, I don't know how to be calm. And that was like, you know, like the light bulb goes off